we don't make neurological connections to names and graphics and logos near the way we do naturally, just with eyes and shapes of faces and body language and voices. The best writers and the best communicators know that human beings like to connect to human beings, right? Welcome to the Maven Marketing Podcast. Today is Maven Monday. This is the place where we answer your real-life marketing questions to help you eliminate waste in advertising, grow your business, and achieve the big dream. I'm your host, Brandon Welch, and Caleb, you look different today.
I sure do, yes.
We have a new sub co-host, the one and only Carter Breaux, my bro faux show, the master of video and radio scripts here at Frank and Maven.
Oh, well, thank you.
Why is it timely today, Carter? What is our topic?
It is timely because our topic is how to make your TV and radio ads stand out.
And could you explain to the folks what you do around here?
I make TV and radio ads stand out.
Look at that. It was meant to be. It is so true. We get questions about ads and ad performance and creative. That is really the heart of what we do on a weekly basis. It's probably the most important thing we do as an agency. It's a thing we can do that not very many people put a lot of time or focus in. And so Carter and I, Caleb, old habits die hard.
Everyone
Carter
says it.
and I, yeah. Yeah, you look good, Caleb. So Carter and I have been writing together for almost a decade.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's been nuts. Carter is an OG at Frank and Maven. He is the heart of our talent behind anything that's makes people laugh, cry, or get angry in our TV campaigns or radio campaigns. And if you're a client listening, you know about Carter's hard work. And so he's behind a lot of the stuff you would see at a product level from Frank and Maven. So we're grouping a lot of questions we've had building up in at least one episode today. I actually think this episode, I think we'll have like part 68 on this episode.
It might be, yeah.
We could go on this topic forever, but the whole point is how do you make your ads stand out in a crowded world? There's a famous study done by Yankovic and Sons where the average American, Nate the camera guy, do you know this? The average American sees how many ads per day on average?
Something like 5,000 now.
5,000 ads. And that was done in like 2009 or something, that study.
Which now it's probably double or more.
So
you know?
the amount of marketing messages we're exposed to is just outrageous. And of course, if you're somebody spending hard-earned money on marketing, you're wondering, how do I make my ad one of the 5,000 that doesn't get forgotten, right?
Yeah. One of the 2 out of the 5,000
probably 2 or 3
gets
right?
heard. Yeah.
So this is all about making your marketing dollars work better. This is all about making you famous, making people like you long before the sale. We didn't put this in the show notes, but this is really about tomorrow marketing today. And if you're familiar at all with the Maven Marketer, we're going to take some of the principles that are in the tomorrow marketing chapter, which I happen to believe is the most important chapter of the book, and we're going to put them in real life. We are packed full of examples, probably more than any other episode we've ever had. So, since Carter is the master of all this, and Carter often gets ugly ducklings handed to him.
I do. I've gotten a few ugly ducklings over the years, yeah.
It's either, somebody's existing campaign that's coming to us to make it better, or just something that is, we're taking a brand from where they are to where it needs to be. And Carter gets a front row seat as to what people are doing wrong. We'll say wrong. We'll say the biggest opportunities for improvement in advertising copy. So we are going to get to 4 solid tactics and maybe a bonus tactic if we have time, if Nate the camera guy has loaded us with enough tape. Maybe 1 bonus tactic, but we're going to get to at least 4 solid tactics, things you can take away and put in your ads today. But first, Carter, start us off. What are the businesses of small business America missing when it comes to writing ads?
Yeah, so the biggest thing we see is this myth that that we always try to combat, which is that a lot of business owners think that they have to, one, talk about themselves, but they have to make all their points in one ad, which we call porcupining. You're making too many points. So maybe a business owner has 4 or 5 or more different points that they want people to hear about them, but they put all of those in one ad instead of making that a campaign.
How many years have we been in business?
Yes.
How many locations we have? All of our products. We do detailing,
Mhm.
and auto body repair and frame repair.
Yeah.
And don't forget windshield repair, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
So they're doing 5 or 6 things in one ad, and they're not doing any of them with enough impact to be heard.
and oftentimes, when you're in a TV and radio format, and by the way, since you've listened this far, the joke is on the digital people who looked at this title episode and said, I don't do TV or radio. This works for everything.
This works for
This is
everything.
human communication principles. This is how to earn attention and make your product, your business interesting. But everybody, when we're in a traditional world, we're often harnessed to either a 30 or 60-second creative.
Mhm.
And so having come from the media world, I can tell you that most small businesses don't get a production department. They get a guy who is way overtaxed, and the poor guy in the production department, or maybe in a really big TV station, you have 2, and he's got to crank out like 5 ads a day.
Mm-hmm.
So he's way, way, way better than the time is allowing him to be, but he's probably just being forced to crank out ads and not make you put a whole lot of thought into them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the salesperson says, hey, what's all the things you want to put in your ad? And they say your ad like it's the only ad you're going to have, or the only ad you're going to have this year, or maybe 2 ads. And so the business owner, without even realizing it, has to throw a bunch of stuff, and they're trying to cram 90 to 120 words in a 30-second ad, and it ends up sounding like trying to be everything to everybody instead of something to one really important customer.
Yeah, in a way that matters, talking to them in a way that actually connects. Yeah.
Right. And so for most services and for most small businesses that have something really, some really proprietary way that they have to do their service, that ends up selling it short.
Mm-hmm.
So Porcupines, we borrowed that term, I believe, from the Wizard of Ads or the Wizard Academy,
Mm-hmm.
but that's they waddle along and make too many points, right?
Yes.
What you want instead is
you want a rhinoceros.
A rhinoceros.
One
yes.
point that's made with incredible impact.
Tip of the hat to Roy Williams, as I think we've done pretty much in every episode. So thank you, Roy. You want to hit hard, one big point. So, just know that that's happening, and know that you probably have 100 ads worth making in your company on the various ways you do things a certain way, on the various products you do, and go deep instead of wide, right?
Yes, go deep.
Save the everything for your website. Save the everything for the sales presentations when you get that, longer than that 30 or 60 seconds.
Definitely,
so, that's the biggest thing. It's the biggest problem we're missing, right? So, talking about TV and radio today, creative, I have not been watching much TV lately.
Really?
My 5-year-old lost the controller. He wasn't even remotely sorry about it.
He's really pushing your buttons, isn't he?
He's pushing my buttons, yeah. So, all right, changing the channel over. What should you do with your TV and radio ads?
Yeah.
We're bringing this down to 4 points. We have a bag of tricks, at least 20 deep, that if we're on the front end of a campaign and building something that we'll reach into, and probably off of those 20, there's another 50 or 60 that are just nuances.
Sub-tactics and stuff.
But that's the nerd work. That's the behind-the-scenes work. What we want for you guys today is to walk away going, hey, the next ad that I write, I'm going to use one of these tactics.
Yeah.
And the goal is for you to be remembered. The goal is for your ad campaign to get better and better over time, meaning more people recall it. It works more the longer that you do it. The goal is for you to stand out among your competitors. The goal is for people to feel good and just think, wow, I want to do business with that company because I already like and trust them.
Yeah.
Right?
Typically that comes because they feel understood. It's not because they understand you. It's because they feel understood.
Deep. Validation.
Yeah.
Validation. So the 4 tactics we're going to bring to you today and just break into here in a minute. 1 is called creating a character for your brand. 2 is using active second-person voice. 3, unpredictable word combinations.
Huge.
That's Carter's favorite thing to do. 4, we're calling making a signature sound. And then 5, if we have time, if we don't cross the 30-minute mark, I'm going to talk a little bit about repetition and frequency. That's a media technique. So let's talk about creating a character. So you're thinking, okay, wow, I'm a local business. I don't have millions of dollars to hire actors. I don't have, millions of dollars to make animated lizards and geckos and Hollywood characters. How in the world would I create a character? And the truth is, what Hollywood does, or what really, really big time, ad agencies do, is they are looking to create a persona for a brand, or a persona for a movie, or persona for a sitcom, or a drama, or anything, because the best writers and the best communicators know that human beings like to connect to human beings, right?
Definitely.
And if you are a brand that has human beings interacting with your brand, which is basically the definition of a company, right? You are so much farther ahead to create a character that people can bond with and attach all of these wonderful things about your company to, versus being this ambiguous, ad speak, voiceover, graphic driven, PowerPoint type brand.
Yeah. If people don't feel like, if they're not sure, is this like some corporation? Who am I dealing with here? Who is this? It's not a good thing. You want people to feel like they've got a point person, someone that they know.
We don't make neurological connections to names and graphics and logos near the way we do naturally, just with eyes and shapes of faces and body language and voices and all the collective things that can be translated with a person. So when we're talking about creating a character for your brand, it's not necessarily that we go out and hire some big fancy actor or maybe some big fancy writing studio. We do that for a handful of our clients. That is called for at some points. But more than that, you can take you as the owner, as the spokesperson, and just put some parameters around what you allow to be seen on TV or heard on radio versus just random lines.
Yeah. Being intentional about how you present yourself, what kind of traits you want to portray.
Yeah. What quirks?
Quirks.
Do you have accents? Do you have 10-gallon cowboy hat that you wear? Do you look formal? Do you look like a good old boy? Do you look like an approachable person? All of those things.
What kind of words do you use?
Yeah, what kind of words and vernacular? Where are you from? What are your values? What is the way you carry yourself and the things you choose, and more importantly, choose not to put in your TV ads or your radio scripts? What does that say about you? And so sometimes the CEO or otherwise the owner-operator or the spokesperson is in and of themselves an interesting magnetic personality. Sometimes they're not. And what I want you to hear is it doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum, because you can design and pick 3 to 4 characteristics you want to be synonymous with your personality, just like, and therefore your brand personality, just like a good TV character. Think Tim the Toolman Taylor. Think, what's your favorite TV character? We
typically talk about like Walter White or Buzz Lightyear,
just
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Just timeless characters, right? And they have there's this process we use called character diamonds, and what we do is we pick the interesting thing that we want to stand out, and we turn everything else down, and we just don't put it in the scripts. So I am way more interesting as a character that I design on Maven Marketing Podcast than I am in real life, and that's what we try to do even for this podcast. But you can do the same thing. And so what does that look like? So just who are we talking about? National examples that everybody would know. Mayhem from Allstate.
Yeah.
Captain Obvious from Hotels.com.
I'm Tom Bodette.
Tom Bodette from Motel 6, one of the most timeless advertising characters of all time. Just with those 3 examples, 2 are funny. 1 is just extremely relatable, right? Mayhem from Allstate, he's personifying chaos.
Yeah.
He's personifying the silly things we do to get ourselves in trouble and burn our houses down, right?
It's devious, and it takes kind of a really scary unknown and makes it a very funny thing that you can kind of put your finger on.
It's unpredictable because he's in a suit. He otherwise looks well put together. He's a professional mayhem, right? Captain Obvious from Hotels.com, that's just total magical thinking. That's just total fictitious entertainment.
Yeah.
And he's dressed in like some really...
captain suit, very boisterous.
Hard not to pay attention to, right?
Yeah.
And going back to, we're trying to be memorable, right? So Tom Bodette, Motel 6, Mike from DollarShaveClub.com, just incredibly smooth, cunning, convincing, smooth talk. That was a design character. How about Colonel Sanders?
Great one. Been the face of a brand for 70 years.
Who knows how long, right?
Yeah.
He's reminding us, he's personifying that down-home, cooking, right?
Grandpa.
Relatable, hopefully for most people, right?
Yeah. Ties their magic recipe into a person, a specific person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Takes it away from this corporation, brings
Yes.
it down to.
Nobody wants a corporation selling them fast food, right?
Yeah.
Did you buy it from Colonel Sanders because it's finger licking good, right? So Mr. Whipple, the guy that was so iconic in the 60s and 70s for Charmin, right? Protecting the Charmin, don't squeeze the Charmin. He was he personified over caring and being like protective of this soft, delicate thing that we all know what we do with that product. And it just was interesting because who cares about toilet paper? It drew attention to the delicacy of that product, right?
And everyone goes, I haven't squeezed the Charmin. I want to go squeeze the Charmin. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. And so when you have this moment where you're going down the aisle and you're like, everybody's looking for Mr. Whipple. Can I squeeze the Charmin, right?
Yeah.
This is interesting. This is memorable. People are talking about that guy 50 years after that was an ad that some genius created, right? Ronald McDonald, Jake from State Farm. And they're just personifying these different things. Yes, they're entertaining. Yes, in some cases, the national ones have dialogue and they exist as like an acted character. Well, let's bring it down to some local examples.
Yeah.
This is one of our favorite things to do with our companies that we serve here, and it has made them very, very successful. If you can imagine what most people think in modern day marketing is, I want to be number one on search engines, or I want to be the best at lead generation, or I want to get somebody who's out searching and magically and digitally attract them to me, and I get them in front of me, and then I can sell them because I'm a good salesperson, right? That's what a lot of company growth is focused on right now. But what if long before that, because you are Randy Milby or D Milby, or you are Bev and RD Schmidt, or you are Corey Bunger, or you are Pearl and Maxine from the Ozarks Elder Law campaign. What if people already go, I know that person? They might also be on the search engine list with 5 other people who are just names and websites, but I know that person even though I've never met them. And the magic of TV and radio, still in this day, still in 2023, is for the dollar, we can reach 5 to 20 times more people for the money you spend. Usually it's more like 10 to 20 times more people. And so tens of thousands of people per day are getting these little micro impressions of your character, of this person who's holding your values and this interesting thing about you.
Making them laugh.
Winning them over.
Winning them over, yeah.
Yeah, so we're trying to either make them laugh, cry, or get angry about something that ought to be better that your company solves, right? So what you do there to build a local character, you need to have some catchphrases. Randy and D, give me some of their catchphrases. Carter's
beautiful windows that won't break the bank.
But it's not just beautiful windows that won't break the bank. It's beautiful windows that won't break the bank, right? We have him say it a certain way, and he looks like a goober, and he feels like a goober. Trust me, at least he did the first couple times he did it. And now people come up at the grocery store and they say, beautiful windows that won't break the bank.
Yeah. Or, that's a D guarantee.
D has the big one. That's a D guarantee. That's a character thing for her, right? We've built these little sayings that they have, and usually a character, in this case, Randy and D is the excited, replace your windows, remodel your home, Tim the Toolman type guy. And D is the conservative, I'm going to make sure it's just perfect for you, and you don't have to worry about a thing, and I'm going to call you just to tell you I appreciate you type. And she has a guarantee, and we've built the whole thing out. Those are characters, right? Now, they hold those values in real life, but they also do all the boring things that everybody else does in real life that doesn't make them interesting. Yeah. When it comes time for the camera,
we choose those specifics and we just magnify them.
We turn them up.
We show them to the world as much as we can.
So what does your company stand for? What are you kind of sort of excited about, or what kind of sort of can you embody, maybe as the owner operator? And when you go to write your scripts or stand for something or make eye contact or smile or talk, what things can you turn up that are more interesting?
Yeah.
We've got a guy in Texas who's actually from Australia, and we didn't have to try all that hard to make him interesting because think about a Texan with an Australian accent who is like the biggest patriotic dude you've ever met in your life. He's crazy about this country. He's crazy about freedom, and he's in the real estate business. And so we just went all Aussie on him and turned up his Aussie phrases, but he's saying American things in an Australian accent, and people just are instantly drawn to him and they trust him.
Yeah. And you'll notice that there's divergent traits, you know, an
I
American Texas guy who's Australian, things that seem to contradict one another are incredibly powerful. You'll see that in
Yes.
any TV characters that you love. They all have some pair of traits that seem not like they would never fit together.
Yes. And if you think about your product, virtually any one of your competitors could change their business to start claiming what you claim
Mhm.
and have a feature that you have, but nobody can take your character away from you.
Yeah.
State Farm could not steal Flo.
Mhm.
State Farm could not steal Mayhem. Allstate could not steal Jake from State Farm, right?
Yeah.
They have these characters, and it's the biggest way to stand out that can't be stolen from you. And if somebody tried to do that, it would be instantly recognized and they'd be called phonies, and the whole point of building trust and likeness would be lost, right?
Yeah.
So I don't care how average you think you are. I don't care how uninteresting you think you are. Find somebody with a little bit of writing skill, or spend some time yourself building your own character, and start showing up in a consistent way. We talked about catchphrases. Good characters stand for something. We
Mhm.
know what strong characters in TV and books and movies, we know what they stand for. We know what they believe. So your subject matter, your vernacular should revolve around 3 to 5 values. Like, a common one is stand for America. I stand for treating people fairly. I stand for dadgummit, Coke, not Pepsi.
Yeah.
Or
I mean-
dadgummit, muscle cars, not electric cars.
Randy
Or,
and Dee, you should never be uncomfortable in your own home.
oh, they stand so much against the
Mhm.
slick willy salespeople.
Yeah.
And they stand against overpaying for something, and they talk a lot about that.
Definitely.
So your character should stand for something. Lean into an accent or a dialect or your local hometown way of saying things, or on the opposite end, a really buttoned up, pristine way of saying things,
Mhm.
right? Depending on your trade, depending on your customer, depending on whom you want to appeal to the most, whom you most want to appeal to, I should say. Lean into some quirks. I don't care if you got a weird hat, or we have some attorneys, and their quirk, they wear stark white suits.
Yeah. And because of the ads they run, everyone who comes in says, we're looking for the ladies in white. They're always asking about that.
Yep. They know you want it done right, call the ladies in white, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And these things sound small, and they will produce very small results at first.
Mhm.
But when you do them over and over and over and over, just like a good character, which leads to my next thing, give them an outfit. Character has an outfit. Do they wear jeans or suits? Pick one.
Yeah.
Do they wear overalls or Hawaiian shirts, right? Pick one. You never see a cartoon character that looks different, right? You can draw Fred Flintstone a million times over, and he's always going to have the same thing on, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then give them an energy. Is it soft? Is it comforting because the matter of your product is delicate?
Mhm.
Is it boisterous and exciting because you're selling ATVs or Jeeps or big old pickup trucks?
Yeah.
Is it expert driven? Is it knowledgeable because you have a really complex thing? Give
Mhm.
them an energy and give them an aura that when you look at this character, you go, that guy knows about that thing. And when I go to need that thing, I need to know the guy that knows
Yeah.
about that thing, right?
You want it to inspire confidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes the sale is a commoditized thing. We don't need confidence.
Mhm.
Sometimes we're selling outdoor furniture, stuff that, it's a matter of my opinion, right? But at that point, I want the guy that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I want the guy that knows how to lead me to the experience. And just think about what your customers are doing when they're actually using the product and how they're imagining their life changed. And that key emotion is what you want your character to make happen.
Definitely.
It's going to fall in the category of laughing, crying, or get angry, right? Make sense? Anything you would add to making characters?
I think you nailed it. I think, the divergent traits is big. Yeah, I think it's an enormous thing, like you said, that would, over time, will make you legendary.
Yep.
That's the goal.
Ooh, legendary. We wrote a book about being a legendary business. You should get a copy of it. On Amazon, bestseller. Audiobook coming soon in September. We're going to put some links to campaigns of you all know the national ones, but we're going to put the links to some local campaigns of people that are you would look at them maybe before them being in these campaigns, or if you're not in their town, and they're just like you and I. They're average Joes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've made them into consistently remarkable, memorable characters. So
Yeah.
if they can do it, you can do it. Taking nothing away from them. Love you guys. Love you, Randy and D. Love you, Bevan, RD. Love you, Corey. Love you, James. All those people.
But it's possible. It's possible for anyone.
Yep. Just call your bro for show. All right. Second tactic, using active second person voice. Now, this is probably the easiest thing to pull off on the list for anybody, and it applies to anything and everything if you just try.
Mhm.
So often what happens in the ad writing process is that somebody who has zero stake in the ad working, such as the poor guy who's overworked at the TV or radio station, or such as maybe a business owner has a college student that's that's wanting to learn advertising, and they think, oh, well, I'll just let them have fun with it because that's what they're trying to do or whatever. Nothing against that. That's how we all learned. But nobody's job is to purposely align that ad for profitability and transfer of confidence and persuasion.
Yeah.
Usually when the creatives go in the ad space, they're going, how can I be creative? Nothing against creatives. Love you, creative. Love you, creatives. Love you, Nate the camera guy. Love you, Carter. But unless there's a business goal combined with that creative, and the creative aids clarity, you're actually wasting the time. You're wasting the money. And one of the fastest ways to dissolve that waste is to use active second person voice and force yourself to be talking directly to the person on the other side of the speaker or the screen as if they were right in front of you.
Yes, definitely.
The opposite of that is either third person passive, which is the worst type of voice to use, and I'm going to give examples in a second, or first person company centric, which is bad but not as bad. Like I said, going to give examples in just a second, but those two things equal ad speak, and those two things equal our brain in its subconscious realizing that is just noise. That is not something directed at me or any human being.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we researched and did a couple chapters on in this book was the eavesdropper effect. And it's when you're talking to someone, everyone will listen. But when you're talking to everyone, no one will listen.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting in a coffee shop and Carter's phone rings 3 tables away, and Carter's talking loud, and he's talking to somebody on the other end of the phone. I don't even know
what?
Carter. He did what? Yeah. What's going on? Huh?
Yeah.
What? You're kidding me, right? Everybody in that coffee shop knows that call wasn't for them, but nobody can stop paying attention until they close that loop in their brain. It fires a curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, we are looking for things that either help us thrive or survive, or otherwise entertain us or offer us an interesting thought.
Mm-hmm. And if you're writing in third person or first person, if you're saying we do this or this company does that, everyone wants to be the hero of their own story. They've got so much going on. They don't have time to think about your company. They only really have time, or they will only give you time of day if you're helping them succeed in some way.
Yes. Yeah. So we picked a company, and this is an ad I heard earlier this week. And I changed the name and all this stuff, but you'll recognize ads that sound like this. This is passive third person. This is what not to do. Passive third person, where we're talking about they, he, she. It's like a third party spokesperson talking about a company that you weren't even thinking about. Mm-hmm. So it would go something like, Cornerstone Carpet Cleaners is your premier carpet cleaning service. With 4 convenient locations, Cornerstone Carpet Cleaners has crews for every occasion. They specialize, talking about they, not something that's directly at me, right? They're telling a story nobody asked to listen to, right? They specialize in commercial and residential carpet, hardwoods, tile, and vinyl restoration, keeping homes and businesses looking and smelling their best. So for all carpet and flooring cleaning needs, remember Cornerstone Carpet Cleaners. Call 882-WASH. That's 882-WASH. 882-9274. Find them on Facebook. Now, that is the equivalent of just nothing about that ever triggered that this was about me, my life. This is a story about a company I'm not even considering using, right? Here's what most that's really, really bad. That's like
Yeah.
if you're just asleep at the wheel, that happens.
Yeah, you'll also notice, if I may, some of these things. For convenient locations, we specialize in residential and commercial. Find us on Facebook. You're making all sorts of points there as well. You're porcupining too.
Oh yeah, they porcupined. They did third person voice,
Mhm.
right? Let's talk about first person. This is what most companies actually do. We are Cornerstone Carpet Cleaning. We offer premier carpet cleaning services. With our 4 convenient locations, we have a crew for every occasion. We specialize in commercial and residential carpet. It's all about I, me.
Mhm.
So when you need carpet cleaning, remember me, remember us, right? Okay. We've all seen that ad. That's that's probably more like the 4,999 that get forgotten.
Yeah.
Unless if the stars align and you happen to reach somebody while they're literally actually thinking about carpet cleaning, that would be a very poor direct response ad
Mhm.
because it didn't take me from an emotional need to a solution. But if I happen to be needing it and I heard that, whatever.
You just got to acknowledge that most people don't need their carpets cleaned today. It's
They
going to
don't.
be 8 months from now or 2 years from now.
Good key point. This is a sub topic, and probably a whole nother episode. But realize if you are talking in mass media, you are literally talking to tens of thousands of people at once. And statistically, if your population, let's just take something like roofing. If your
Mhm.
population, like 5% of homes need their roof replaced every year, right? One out of every 20 years, a roof gets replaced, right? So
Yeah.
5% per year. Divide that out by the months, and like literally less than 1/4 of 1% of the audience at any given ad time is even remotely considering a roof. So if you go, our roofs, you need roofs.
Click.
Click, click, click. You rendered your ad useless to 99.75% of people. The only time ads like that work is when you're talking about a commoditized product like hamburgers or water or something I'm going to buy today, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we do instead? You want to use second person active voice. Now, I'm going to use a couple of tactics here in addition to second person passive because why not? We just decided to have a little fun. But the biggest thing I want you to hear here is you, and I'm talking to you, and it doesn't matter if 10,000 people are listening to this or one single person. Every person listening feels like I'm talking to them.
Mhm.
Exactly you. Carter, does your carpet pass the doorbell test? What's the first thing someone smells after they walk inside?
Mm.
Dust? Dirt? Doo-doo? You've worked too hard to have funky floors. So master that musk, erase that aroma, and wipe out that stiff whiff that's nagging every nostril in your entryway. All you need to do right now is dial 882-WASH, and Cornerstone Carpet will overcome that odor in a matter of hours. 882-WASH for the delightful doorbell smell you deserve, right? You.
Yes. Beginning to end.
It doesn't even matter
Yeah.
if I own a home or have carpet or floors. I heard that ad, right? Now, there's a couple things we did to make it more interesting, but point is, anytime you get handed a piece of ad copy to approve, and it's about talking about you as a third party or you talking about yourself, switch those words and switch the sentence form to be saying, do you, are you, would you
Mhm.
like something to be better? Don't you kind of wish? You deserve more than that, don't
Yeah.
you?
You take a stand.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you cause people, literally with a change of a couple words, to contemplate their own reality
Mhm.
that you want to be a part of versus some figment reality that they weren't asking to be a part
Yeah.
of.
This is an ad about your life. It's about things you want to do. You want to have people over. You want to have a beautiful home that smells good. And you can be better in this way.
Yes.
How do you get there? Well, we've got the missing piece, which is clean carpets.
Yes. That follows the Maven method,
Mhm.
which is who are you talking to? What are their needs, pains, hopes, and fears? How can your product satisfy them? And what's the reasonable next step? I know you. I know your home. I know your needs, pains, hopes, and fears. I can do something for you. Here's what you need to do, right? So unpredictable word combinations is the third. And this is a little bit more art than science, but using your own experience as a consumer, as a human being in this country, you can look at any set of words and go, does that sound like something I've heard before? Or
Mhm.
is that something I've never heard before?
Yeah.
And the goal is to say things in a way that your competitors didn't take the effort to say. Say things in a way that make people just go, what in the world did they just say? Like,
Mhm.
that's the first step. And then by the time they've heard it a couple times, they're going, that's kind of funny. or that's odd, or that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it produces a curiosity like magnet to you and your subject matter,
Yeah.
right?
Note that, anytime you're advertising, it is a break from this person's entertainment, whether it's the radio or a TV show, whatever it is.
Or even Facebook or YouTube, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you can add an entertainment factor, that does a lot to get attention because that's what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. So one of the fastest ways to do that is to mash words together that they've never heard together.
Yeah.
So
it also shows, and you'll see some of these examples here, that you're thinking about this in a way that everyone else isn't,
yes.
Instead of saying, if I may, with these examples, do you have a roof that needs replaced? You say, you've got a 15-year-old pile of shingles on your roof asking for trouble.
Love it. It's Carter Breaux line. Instead of saying, would you like windows and siding with maximum efficiency? You say, when your air's on, your money's gone.
Yeah. You don't say, the temperature's dropping and winter is on its way. You say, it's about to get colder than a well digger's butt in Alaska.
It's about to get colder than a well digger's butt in Alaska.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, am I offended by him just saying that?
Yeah.
Now, that comes from an ad that actually turns that back around. And being offensive and profane is never the goal, but disrupting attention is the goal. And you can do that in a lot of ways. These are just interesting words crammed together. We're going to talk about a couple other tactics in a second. Give us the last one that we brought on here.
Old man winter will be sticking you with utility bills so high, they'd make a preacher cuss.
They'd make a preacher cuss. I've never heard of a preacher cussing. That just is weird, right?
These also have the added effect of when you're building a character, you can use these unpredictable words to kind of build a personality.
That's how Tyler Smith would talk in his character. Maybe not in real life, but that's the character we built for him, right?
Yeah.
So alliteration. So that was just interesting words being crammed together. Sometimes you use common words, but you use what's called alliteration, where stacking syllables on top of each other, or phonemes, right?
Yeah.
Sounds that letters and words make, right?
Yeah. A bargain better than you can buy them from your brother-in-law.
We're not saying you're going to get a good deal guaranteed. We're saying we've got them at a bargain better than you can buy them from your brother-in-law.
And everyone sitting at home going, bargain better than you can buy them. They're repeating it, seeing if they can do it.
I guarantee you that ad gets rewound. That particular kind of thing, alliteration, is what we get clients sending us letters that people from the public, like strangers, are like, I just love your ads.
Which is the highest compliment,
Highest compliment. Somebody was watching something they didn't want to watch in the first place, and by the end of the 30 seconds, they go, I want to watch that again.
Yeah.
Our buddy Corey, the car cowboy, putting dreams in driveways and selling cars like candy bars.
Yeah.
Dreams, driveways, cars, candy bars. That stack and that repetition of those phonemes and those sounds is, for whatever reason, just memorable and satisfying, right?
Definitely. Here's one that was in a roofing ad that we did about a leaky roof. And it's this British man with a large voice. And he says, your roof is leaking. Do you sit there soaking on a soggy soaked couch? Or do you call Mike at Absolute Roofing?
Soggy soaking couch.
Sit there soaking on your soggy soaked couch.
Love it.
It's an ad you can listen to over and over, and you still
in and of itself.
enjoy
it's
it.
Almost musical, right?
Yeah.
How about goodness gracious, so she'll be gushing and grinning?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, she'll be gushing and grinning. It's a tongue twister.
You'll be grinning with all that green you'll be grabbing.
You'll be grinning with all that green you'll be grabbing.
Yeah.
Talking about the wife being cold in the home, and our client's product was more efficient. And so just slam words together. I'll just give you my hack for this. I go find the word that it would be natural to write, and then I go, can I replace that with something that means the same thing? And I go to powerthesaurus.com, and I type in the word, and then I look for a word on the list that starts with a different letter.
Yeah. Anytime I Google a word, it automatically fills in synonym, because I look up synonyms all the time.
Exactly. You can just throw it into Google.
Yeah.
So that's alliteration. We talked about just interesting angles of words and alliteration. Now we're going to talk about verbs and packing your copy with verbs, regardless of whether you're TV or radio. Just makes people think and feel. It fires a different area of the brain, and it puts us in the scene versus describing the scene.
Yes.
So if you're using a lot of adjectives to describe your thing, like beautiful and ornate and high quality, right? What you want to do instead is you want to tell them what that's going to do to them. Go one step further and say, oh yes, it's beautiful, but it's going to make the eyebrows jump 4 inches off your forehead, right?
You'll be gushing and grinning.
You'll be gushing and grinning. Oh yeah, we got some soaking on a soggy couch, right? Those are verbs.
Putting dreams in driveways.
Here's a couple other phrases. How about hickory-fired pepper brats?
Sounds delicious.
Hickory-fired. I don't even know what that means, but I heard fired, hickory-fired, right? I used an adverb. It's hickory-fired, right? Or sugar-smoked salmon, right? Slap them on the grill.
Yeah.
Slap them on the grill. I can hear that sound effect. I can imagine myself doing that. You can lift these windows. They're so smooth and easy. You could open them with a feather. And I'm like, what in the world does that even mean? But I can imagine trying, right?
Yeah. Instead of saying lower your bills, you can say kiss your high utility bills goodbye.
Kiss them goodbye, right?
Kiss them goodbye. Yeah.
Verbs. Or get your butt on down
to wherever you
to
are.
wherever you are. Ditch that old whatever you've got and lock in this new awesome thing, right?
Yeah.
So immerse yourself in verbs when you're trying to write your copy, or when somebody gives you something, you're like, yeah, it's boring. Just be like, hey, throw some more verbs in that for me, and you can send them a link to this podcast, and they'll know what you mean. So far we have gone through second person active voice, creating characters, and using unpredictable word combinations. Any one of those things would make your ads phenomenally more memorable. Do all three, and you'll really have something. And this is like 3 out of like 20 plus tricks we have.
Yeah.
Fourth one is called having a signature sound. This will tie basically anything you do together. We talked, I think in our very first episode, we talked about having a consistent style. We talked about not letting your production team just change whatever they're feeling like. You need to set a template, set a pace for how often you're giving new shots. You're setting a pace for really how many words you have per 30 seconds. You're setting a tone. You're setting, is it loud? Is it quiet? Is it bouncy? Is it soft? Is it major or minor in tonality? These are other tricks. But your signature sound is really the audio signature. And by the way, audio, things we hear, are just way more intrusive than things we see.
Yeah.
We can close our eyes, but we cannot close our ears. So now what everybody's probably thinking is, oh, I've got to have a jingle, and I'm going to do an entire episode on jingles, and most jingles go up in smoke because people use them the wrong way. It can be a jingle. We write lots of jingles. We write lots of little earwormy, like signature sound things that we're going to talk about, but it literally could be anything. It could be the way you say, boy, howdy. It could be
beautiful windows.
Beautiful. Yeah. It could be
we have those roofing ads that we have with the loud British guy. He starts by going, "Gah!"
Gah! Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone goes, oh, it's one of those ads. Let's see what it is.
It could be just a sheer pattern disruptor. We've got a mechanic that at the end of his ads would go, row, row. It's like the little air ratchet. Think about some national examples. HBO TV. Fuzz. Hong, right? The fuzz thing. We know that just ties together all of these emotions and like experiences we've had with their content. And so it's almost a feel good confidence. Oh, this is going to be good. I know somebody spent a lot of time on it. HBO is a phenomenal, entertainment company. How about Coca-Cola? Just the crack open, just the bubbles hitting the glass, right? How about Intel? Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
To some
been
people,
the same for so long,
exactly,
because it works.
Or AT&T, whether you're calling them for support or whether you are seeing their ad in the Super Bowl, it's dun, 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 right? I did that. I practiced. I did my vocal exercises. Or we are farmers, right?
Bum, 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 bum.
It's not really a jingle in the way we would think about a full sing-out jingle, but it's their thing. Nobody could steal that from them. We're talking about being memorable. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, right?
And these aren't always, jingles like we said. Sometimes it's the music you use in your ads, the way it ends. Sometimes we have little blings or things that pop in and out at different times.
Think about the Calm app. Their ads are just literally nature for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it reminds you of something you'd like to be feeling, right? So, or there's that, there's an ad I keep seeing for this back popper thing, and it just literally the sound, the gentle sound of your back just kind of popping and getting in alignment.
We'll go, ooh, that's what I need.
Yeah, I'd like to, yes, you got me. So have a signature sound. This is probably easier to pull off if you literally just hire a musician or a really good engineer or some sort of producer to help you with, or maybe you're musical and you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's the sound of a nail tapping, if it's the sound of ice hitting a glass, if it's the sound of just some wacky kid screaming doing something. Uh, anything that is a pattern disruptor
Mm-hmm.
that will tie your things together.
One that comes to mind is yoga studio that we did. You are going to feel awesome.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, we took these 2 yoga girls. They couldn't we didn't have time. They didn't, have 10 grand to produce a jingle, or they wouldn't have spent it if they did. And we took them saying something together, and we threw it in this little pitch correct thing, and we just turned them up loud saying this word awesome together, right? And it ties all their ads together.
Yeah.
And people repeat that stuff, right? So it could be as simple as you going absolute roofing.
Yeah.
Just stretch out just say your name in a funky way, right?
Outdoor home. Just the way you say.
Yep.
Just off South Campbell
on Tracker Road, right? Yeah. So, or even download a really cheesy sound effect. You just put at an odd time, but at the same time, you say it. You put it right before your name, or you say shine bling solar.
Yeah.
Or
shinesolarbling.com.
Right. So put a signature sound, and over time, kind of like that Pavlov's dog thing, it's just they're going to hear the sound and remember all the things that you're tying together with your company over time. Okay, Nate the camera guy. How much tape do we have left? We got as much as we need. This is a long episode, folks.
Yeah.
We probably, if we were being responsible at all, and this is what happens when Caleb leaves, nobody plays by the rules. We should have ended this and done 2 parts, but I'm going to give you a bonus tactic. And if you are listening and following this stuff, I want you to know, we would love to hear your ads. We would love to help you pour some awesome sauce on your ads. We're linking to 15 other tactics that we use inside our own studio here, like go-to really easy things to understand. And we're going to link to some other examples. But this 5th one really has nothing to do with the creative at all. And I'm not usually the guy that puts media ahead of message. But if you've got even some sort of balance or consistency to the way you're doing these things, the thing that will amplify your recall level, probably higher than anything, is if you were talking to the same audience over and over and over. And TV and radio's magic is that it reaches the same audience inherently, because if you're thinking TV, most Americans are creatures of habit, at least the ones that spend money and aren't sitting at home playing video games all day, and they get up about the same time, they drive the same route to work, they see the same billboards, they thumb through the same couple of magazines, they brush their teeth, they take their kids to school, and they sit down on the couch and probably watch the same 3 to 5 programs in a week.
Wheel of Fortune every night.
Wheel of Fortune.
Or the news,
right?
whatever Jeopardy. It may be. Yeah.
Or if they're driving to work, they probably have either the same podcast they listen to, and that is a way you can reach people, or most of us still have the same 2 or 3 stations on the dial we'll fire in.
Yeah.
And so that is the magic of broadcast media that has a habitual audience. And so when you're buying your media, one of the worst things you can do, especially if you're not established, and I'm talking like in most towns, unless you've spent upwards of $1 million, you're not as established as you probably think you are. But especially if you're not established, one of the worst things you can do is let somebody just randomly place your ads, even though they will, quote, give you a better deal. That's called run of station or run of schedule. And you think it's cool. The way it's pitched typically is that you get a bunch of spots that cost less because you're letting them put you in different places, and you think, oh, I'm in all these places. But what happens is that human beings, especially in a world where we see 5,000 ads or more a day, we need repetition, even if the impact of the ad is high, right? Even if you did all these things extremely well, the more I see that ad, or the more I become familiar with your campaign and your style and your inflections and these little quirky things we're doing, the longer and the faster I will recall them. And what that means for TV, I'm just going to give you a really down and dirty formula. Do not add a program to your TV schedule unless you are in a program at least 4 times a week. So before I ever start adding extra programs, I go to one program, 12 p.m. news, Wheel of Fortune, or 5:30 a.m. news. I don't care what it is, as long as there's an audience coming back, and I think it's a good audience for the buy, and it's a good program. I fill that program up with one ad per day before I go buy another program. So if I've got $50,000 to spend and it costs me $50,000 to be in one program, I'm in one program.
You're in one program. Yeah.
If I grow the client and I have $65,000 the next year to spend on that media, I'm staying in that one program, but then I'm starting to build into another. So buy-in programs on TV that repeat every day. Slight exception for cable. We'll get to that someday. But most people are buying broadcast TV. If it's radio, you treat the radio station as if it's one big giant TV program, because most people, while they might switch around a little bit, they're gonna be loyal to one or two different stations. And so to achieve the same effect in radio, we're buying 35 to 40 spots per week between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. If you do that, the average listener will tend to hear your ads 3 to 4 times in a week. So those 40 spots across the board end up hitting the average listener 3 to 4 times. And that's your minimum. So just like TV, we don't add programs. We do not add stations. We do not let some fancy radio person come and say, ooh, you're going to be a little sample on all my 4 stations. That's good for them. That's bad for you. That's great for their sales managers. That's really bad for you. And I love you radio people. I love you TV people. They know better than to try to sell us that. And I'm telling you, go back to the human being. It's not about some magic media that you're just out there and people automatically want to do business with you. This takes repetition. This takes hard work. This takes commitment. This takes courage. This takes you standing for all of these things that your company is beautiful and wonderful for, and then putting them in a media form that can be easily recalled. Otherwise, you'll never get enough critical mass and momentum for people to actually believe, feel good, recall, want to do business with you in any noticeable manner.
Yeah.
So repetition.
And the lack of repetition, or the lack of belief that they can achieve that repetition, is typically seems to be the reason why people are trying to fit all their points into one ad. So they think, I've got one chance with this person. When in reality, you want to give each message time, because you know that you're going to be reaching the same person 3 to 4 times a week.
Absolutely. Final hack. Every time you put a piece of copy down on paper and you go, I'm going to go spend the money to put this in the world, reverse that around and say, is there somebody out there that has been waiting to hear this line? Oh, gosh. If I only knew there was a carpet cleaning service with 4 convenient locations, I'd have called weeks ago. Oh, gosh. If I only knew that they did residential and commercial, they'd have already been in my checkbook, right?
Yeah.
And so just read that back and go, does it even make sense? Is somebody out there begging to hear that message? We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep adding tactics. These are my 4 favorite. I really like, I think if you looked at any of our campaigns, you'd find, if not all 4, at least 3 of the 4, right?
Yeah. These are the ones that make the biggest impact, I think, and that need to be in everything.
Yep. Have the courage to be different. Have the courage to stick with it. Have the courage to give your ad guy permission to have some fun. We'll be back here every Monday answering your real-life marketing questions, because marketers who can't teach you why
Or just a fancy lie.
Thank you, Carter.
Thank you
We'll
very
see
much.
you guys very soon.